you just need to check that that's okay. So thanks very much for joining me and for joining Sally Ann. Really good to see a couple of new faces. Actually, some people I think that not joined us before, so it's really great to see that we've got some new visitors. And what we do with these is each month we alternate, and we do a live painting session from one of our studios. So I did last month, didn't I? And it's your turn this month, Sally Ann. So I'm Lin Cheung, for those of you that don't know me, an abstract artist. You can see some of my work just dodging out the way behind me. I'm based in Buxton I'm in Buxton in the UK. So for those of you who don't know where that is, that's in the north of England, not far from Manchester. So do you want to introduce yourself, Sally?
Yep. So hi, for those of you that that don't know me, I'm Sally Ann. I'm based on the southeast coast in the UK, in a place called Southend-on-Sea. I'm an intuitive and abstract painter. This is kind of works in progress behind me. In fact, any of you that joined last time when it was my turn, I started these three on the back. I haven't got very far, unfortunately, because I've been quite busy doing other things, but this is kind of how I work. You know, I'd be doing whatever needs to, if I've got an event to plan for, I'll be doing that. But then when I've got some time, I'll go back to the wall, and it's kind of like I dot in and out, which sometimes is interesting because when you go back to the paintings, you're not in the same headspace you were. So sometimes that can add interest, and sometimes you just think, what the hell was I doing? And it sort of has to start again. So swings and roundabouts.
Yeah, I echo that. Actually, I think that's a really interesting one, that if there's a bit of a gap between, you know, the last time that you're in front of the piece and then you come back to it, that you can have really moved on actually in your thinking, or be completely interested in something different. So if it's been a very long time, I think it can be a bit of I think it's probably just time to get the sander out then sometimes, actually.
Yeah.
Just go with it. So this afternoon, what are we going to be showing us this afternoon, Sally Ann? What have you got planned?
Well, I've got my in-person collage workshop tomorrow. So my head's been all about collage. And because I've been doing the promotion for it, I've been looking at some of my old collage work, and I've really enjoyed it. And I sold a piece as well as I was advertising. So I was thinking, oh, I love this. So I'm going today to be working on some collage pieces.
Oh, fantastic.
Partly, well, if I just, these are the pieces I was doing last year. So very busy. A mix of, these are all handmade collage papers. And then I've got some fabric here that's got stitching on. So I still try and bring my machine stitching and hand stitching into them, even on a wooden panel. But then this year, they've looked more like this.
That's quite a difference, isn't it?
Very different. So
yeah, really different.
And this has been since sorry about the reflection there. This has been since I've moved into the new studio. So I don't know if I was already talking about this on our last session, but I know through various lives and stuff that I've done, if anybody's caught me talking, I feel like, I don't know why it's happening, but I feel this yearn at the moment just for space. And I don't know if that's to do with moving into such a huge studio and having all this space, or on a more internal sort of level. My head's been so full of decision making and having to, so busy. I don't know if in my work I've just got a yearn for like hardly anything. You know, and I just want
clearing stuff out, peace, quiet, space.
I just feel like I want quiet, and even the most fragile lines at the moment have been feeling incredibly definite. And so it's almost like when I look at some of those on the wall that I was working on, even only a few weeks ago, I'm like, wow, they're loud, you know, and actually they're not really. It's still a muted palette and everything, but I've got to go with it and, you know, see what happens. And I'm very much into this compartmentalizing.
Yeah.
And I think as well, that is a reflection of the way I'm thinking and feeling, because I have to have you know, to get all this stuff running and planning my workshops, everything's got to fit into a box. Just for me to get it managed, you know, like in my mind.
Yeah, I think this is it's a really kind of interesting process that you're talking about, which is how much does you know, what we're experiencing in our day-to-day life and the things that we're kind of preoccupied with emotionally, psychologically, whether it's work or personal life or whatever it might be, you know, how much does that kind of experience start to feed through into the work actually in lots of different ways? I think it's really, you know, I think it absolutely does, you know, absolutely does.
For me, for sure it does. I know it does, because I'm very present in my work, and I'm very I'm just very present with like my feelings, and every day I'm kind of just, I think I'm just very good at going within and just being there and being able to sort of translate that. But it doesn't always bring consistency in the work though, you know, because sometimes, or you can see from last year,
well, feelings change, don't they? Feelings change, don't they? I mean, they can change really quickly.
So yeah, I think you just got to go with it. And I always worry that, oh, it's really different and it's going to, you know, it's like I've got all these different styles. But actually, when I've asked these questions, lots of people come back and said, no, that you can still tell it's you. It's just a more quiet you, or the louder you, or. Yeah. And so I think when we worry about things like that, especially in the early days of painting loads of things to find your way, you know, I still think it's you. It's just a different, like, we've got so many facets, you know, as people, and it's just showing a different side to you.
Yeah, I agree with you, definitely. Yeah, I'd say that's absolutely true. Yeah, because I think, you know, because ultimately, you know, even at just something as simple as that, you know, the way that you hold and make the marks, you know, even if it's a loud mark or a quiet mark, it's still you that's using the tool, you know, and it's your musculature that's making the movement. So it will be fundamentally how you do that. You know, it's not like you can suddenly swap your arm for somebody else's and use a different kind of way of doing it. You know, that just doesn't happen. You know, so even if you're holding the tool or using a different tool, it's still going to fundamentally be an expression of yours. I think it can't help but be.
Like so I think, mark. Sorry, go on.
No, I was just going to say, no, so I think, you know, I think that's something that can be really useful to talk through sometimes. I think, you know, when I'm teaching or I'm coaching people, you know, there's that concern about how do I find my authentic voice? You know, there's things I like in other artists' work, but if I choose that, if I try to bring some of that in, is it going to be copying? And it's like, well, no, because the way in which you do it will be ultimately, you know, your version of this, and it's going to be unique. It's going to be absolutely unique. So cool. Sounds really good. Okay, so that felt like it was a good start for everybody. Interesting discussion around process. I hope you were enjoying that. Do you want to crack on with some painting? Yeah.
Any questions about that before?
Yeah, good. Actually,
just anybody about your own processes or worries.
Anybody else want to chip in with anything else, or maybe something that you agree with in that, or you want to add your own experience? Don't have to if you don't want to. Just an option, really, if you'd like to. Maybe later.
Okay, well, I'm going to share my screen. I've got an overhead camera today because I'm working flat, and but obviously come off mute if you have any questions about what I'm doing at any point.
Yeah, I'll put the chat up, guys, as well. So if there's anything that you want to ask, you can drop it into the chat. So you can type that in, and I will pick that up, and then I can ask Sally Ann as well. So if you'd rather do it that way rather than coming off mute.
Okay, can you hear me all right?
Yep, hear you really clearly.
So those of you that joined last time, that's my words today. You may remember that I talked about making homemade gesso. So this is the same pot, but my studio is really, really warm, and I got this out today. And if you just look at how thick this is, it's like literally,
crikey,
it's like dried, but I've been putting it on like this. Oh, and it feels so good.
Sally Ann, Sally Ann, can you just move your camera away slightly? We're not seeing the pictures full, your boards.
Not better, guys.
Slightly more.
Is that better? What I tell you what I could do is just do something like that.
Yeah,
that'd work better, I think.
Is that better?
You can't see the two on the left-hand side, so if you just work with one, it's fine.
Yeah, let me try and move that palette over that way a bit. Yeah.
Yeah, we can see those. We can see the two on the right, the two on the left are out of
Yes,
slightly
no.
out of shot, but you can
keep,
swap them over.
Popping them in.
Yeah, that'll work fine, I think.
So I've got this thick gesso, and I've been using the paint shaper that you may remember. I use this a lot to push paint around, but I'm just getting some really like loose textured layers on here. And because it's so thick and not watery, it dries quite quickly. And sometimes what I do is mix a little bit of colour in it if I want to start, you know, getting some ground down.
You're working on wood there, Sally Ann?
Yeah, these are thin
yeah, wooden panels.
8x8 cradled panels. I've not worked on these before, but because I'm holding the workshop tomorrow, I felt this was a little bit more of a comfortable size than the 12x12s.
Yeah.
But if anybody's feeling brave tomorrow, I do have 12x12s. Sometimes, if I was starting with the collage, I don't always put all the gesso on. You know, I could just start layering up the papers, but I'm not aligned. I don't have one fixed process, you know.
Can you move that painting up a little tiny bit, Sally? And that's it. Yeah. Is that better, Paula?
Perfect.
Right, let's just add a little bit of colour to see what's going on.
So we had a question about colour sent through Instagram, which was about, you know, do we start with addressed to both of us actually, about, you know, do we start with a specific palette, or in fact, if I will just get the exact question and I can read it out. You're working away. That's a really lovely soft colour, Sally Ann.
I told you, I just want this space at the moment.
Yeah, I know.
Everything feels really dark when I put it on.
So, do we have an intention on the colours we start with the painting? Do you have an intention on the colours when you start with the painting?
Do you want to go first, or should I?
Yeah, I can talk to that. So this is from Jude Elmer. So Jude, I hope you're watching this on replay. I do tend to work with a specific palette, excuse me, across a whole series of paintings. So I'll decide on some sort of base colours. So some of the ones I've been working with more recently have been black, a very pale aqua, which I've mixed up from cerulean orange and white. And then I've sort of added various different variations to that. So I've sort of varied that slightly across the various different paintings. A cadmium red deep mixed with black to make a very, very dark deep red, but then I'll add white to that to make it into a pink. So various different shades of that. Orange, again desaturated, added with some black to make a sort of dark orangey brown, which again adding various different whites and sort of shifting the shade in various different directions, but as the main base colour. I'm just trying to remember what else. So that's red, black. Oh yes, and a sort of neutral sort of beigey colour mixed from yellow ochre, black, and lots of white. So that's been my kind of core colours. And then what I've occasionally done is added in, you know, an extra random colour like a bright green or a strong yellow, just to kind of vary it all as I've been going along. So that's been my approach for a most recent set of paintings anyway. And I think I'm probably going to stick to that kind of formula for the moment because it seems to work quite well. What about you, Sally Ann? How about you? How do you approach colour?
So yes, I normally have a colour palette. Like at the moment, I'm craving lights. So I'll think I'm normally drawn to the same sort of colours, you know. I guess there's two approaches. One is I know my colours that I want to use, and they'll normally range from like blues and greens to these like softer pinks and peaches with like some greys in between. And I normally, if I'm very organised, I normally try to work through the values and have like the darkest value in that colour mixed and then the lightest. Yeah. And then I know somewhere like here, I'm only working with these lights at the moment. So I'm not really thinking about putting any dark values in at the moment, just getting a feel for them. So that's one way of working. But another way of working, which I sometimes do, especially if I'm working larger, I don't work with brights very much, but I really like a few brights coming through my muted colours. So sometimes I'll fill the whole ground and underpainting with brighter colours that I wouldn't usually use, like more saturated colours. And then I will build the painting up knowing that I'm going to mute a lot of those down, but leave slips coming through. So that you know, like I said, I don't really have a one way. It just depends kind of what intention I've got for the piece. But yeah, like for these, I know roughly I've got some pinks and greens mixed up. I haven't really thought too much about the darker values. I've got this, I don't know if you can see, it's like a bluey, darky bluey.
Yeah, best to hold it to the other camera, actually, might be able to see it more clearly. Yeah, we can actually, yeah.
I like the mixes of like cerulean blues, burnt sienna. It goes like a inky bluesy greens sort of thing. Okay.
That sounds an interesting colour. So when you're talking about the brights, do they, what sort of relationship do they have with your main palette, your lighter colours? I mean, are they the base colours that you mix to make the lighter colours? Or,
yeah, it's usually harmonising, but I just use a more saturated form. Or things like really bright orange, I'd probably use that just in like tiny slips, because I won't want really bright orange at the end, but I'll want it maybe if it's mixed with some like Naples yellow and some white to like lighten it up, but it would have started with that base.
Okay,
does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it does.
Right, so what am I doing here? So I told you I was working with Collage today, so I'll just show you these. I make all of my own collage papers, and I can make them from scraps of paper or sketchbook paper or tissue paper. And it's usually, I won't show you today because it's a whole sort of session, but I use it as a very sort of expressive moment, and I just get loads of papers and they can be all juxtaposed like this. So I'm not working on one at once. And I just sort of draw over the whole lot of them and get my roller and, you know, start splashing. So then when you pick each piece up, you don't really know what marks you were going to get, and it makes it really interesting. So I picked the ones out of my pile that are all painted, but they're all the lights with a couple of, I picked that one up. So I'm going to start, this was one of my darker ones, and it was like this brownie, got some browns and blues in there. So I'm just going to start laying some of those down, I guess. And I collage with anything, like some old drawings, maybe, old bits of paintings. And if the paintings are too thick, I keep a water bath that's literally just a Tupperware box with water in. And if you soak the papers, if they're too thick, then you can apply them on.
Oh, that's a good trick. I've often wondered about that.
Yeah, and then
I didn't know about that. Oh, that's useful.
They sit flat.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So I just literally start with I like this. So now I am thinking I need to think about some value somewhere, just to, as a jumping off point, you know, just put some darks in. So I'm going to go with this. That is a bit thick. So while I'm looking for others, I'm going to put that in the water bath. The only thing with the water bath, when you're making your collage papers, I use lots of different marker pens and things. So you've got to, sometimes when I put them in the bath, they all disappear because they're like not, they're water soluble, and I didn't know, or something. So I
had a moment like that the other day. Actually, I I was putting the gloss medium coat on some paintings, forgetting that I'd used water-soluble pencil crayon and wax crayon, and then I came to look at it and it smeared all across the painting. I was not happy. Anyway, thankfully I've managed to, you know, kind of rescue it by just going over it again. But it was, you know, those moments are really annoying, aren't they, when you've forgotten to do that?
Yeah, if you're super quick, it's good with gloss medium, and super light, or you can sort of paint it back round. You can paint the smudge back in.
Yeah.
I like doing things like this as well, making really intense, like patterned parts, you know?
Yeah.
Right, some of these aren't.
Can you just move that up about? That's it.
Okay, I didn't plan that very well. I painted them all and they're a bit wet, but we'll go with it. So to glue these on, I use matte medium. So this one I'm using at the moment. If I'm just experimenting and playing, then I just use PVA because it's cheaper.
Yeah.
But these might end up being a something, so I'll start like this. And yeah, I was going to say any of these are on the back of like notebooks or my journal. Anything can go into it, really. When I was younger, I used to put a lot of my journals in there, and it felt very vulnerable. And I think that's where I learned to start layering. So I disguised the text, and it felt a bit more comfortable for me. This one looks a bit dry. So you can put the matte medium on the top as well.
Yeah.
And I often use a brayer roller, ink roller, to just flatten it. This could be a slow process, guys. Does anyone have any questions in the meantime?
Yeah, any questions, anybody? Any comments? Just to the group, has anybody done a lot of work with, actually, anybody sort of done much work with collage? I think one or two I've seen, I've seen some of your work where you've done some stuff with collage.
I've done some.
Yeah, I was thinking about your work, Margaret.
I've been playing with the printing images onto the wet strength tissue.
Yeah.
And I quite like using that.
Yeah. Nice. What sort of images?
Ooh, shoes.
Oh, right, cool. And where, I mean, where do you
my photographs.
Oh, nice.
Yes, I've been using my photographs. The shoes are my daughter's first pair of shoes that I've been working from for a little while. Lots of different ways.
Yeah. Yeah. Because you are a printer, aren't you, I think, if I remember rightly?
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Screen printing mainly, but I'm interested in all types of printmaking.
Yeah.
Been trying to do some I tend to include some block printing and maybe found object, just marks that, you know, as a method of way of mark making.
Yeah. So I'm noticing, Sally Ann, that you're sort of putting some paint in as well. I noticed you just doing that with your fingers alongside the collage making.
Do you know what? It's because that brown was there, and I thought, oh, that'd look lovely against a bit of yellow, and I just happened to have this yellow here. So
yeah, you just did that spontaneously.
Yeah, just because I just wanted to try that colour next to it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's such a free process for me. I don't really like now. I can easily like start drawing in this as well.
Yeah.
You know, like outline that little bit of collage. That would be nice.
So what I'm noticing is you're working is the consistency of the kind of color palette across the papers, actually.
Yeah. That's purely because I chose, like, these are my, if I just stop sharing my screen. Can you see these big trays?
Yeah.
These are like all my
all the
collage.
papers.
And they range from like old paintings, like really dark,
Yeah.
to light. A lot of them are just printed papers like this.
Yeah, yeah. 'Cause I've got like a bloody filing cabinet full of that, actually.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
I just chose, before our session today, I literally just went through and chose the lighter ones that I want to work with. I just don't feel, I don't want anything dark at the moment, weirdly.
No.
But
do you spend quite a lot of time curating the papers first then, before you actually start? Yeah, so that's quite a large part of the process, working out.
Yeah, I have a whole whole thing on collage that I really get into the collage papers and
yeah.
I do it as well for, it sort of leads me next onto color swatches, so that like leads me into a big color mixing kind of day or whatever I have I set aside, and I just make lots and lots of swatches.
Okay.
But then I'll use the swatches. I'm using them for information and learning about the colors, but then B, I'll use them because these collage papers are always like this, not, you know, just like decorative almost.
Yeah.
But I like the swatches because they're solid, so I can get solid bits of color.
Solid color. Yeah.
But because I do them kind of over, it'll probably be a few days together, the palettes are similar and stuff, so they all kind of merge, you know? Yeah.
Brilliant. I might have to come down actually and do a day with you. It sounds really interesting, just to kind of experience somebody else's process, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, come down.
Yeah. Right, I'm going to shut up for a bit and let you work, and then we can watch.
Okay. And so what that's just happened. So my paint wasn't dry.
Yeah.
Can you see the rollers just?
Yeah, we can see it. It's caught the paint and then it's rolled across the paper.
It's so early, like I don't mind at all, you know, I'm not precious. And then, oh yeah, that's what I do as well. So when I've got all this bits of paint on my roller, I just roller those somewhere else.
Yeah.
You know, you just don't know what you're going to find, do you? Now there, I feel like that needs something dark behind it because the blue's so light onto the white. Like I can't explain why that feels like that and this feels okay, but anyway. So I'm just going to put something dark behind that. Even if it's like some sort of watercolor pencil. Okay, so it's dragged on there because of the pencil, but right. Okay, so I'm liking this end bit here and it makes me want to just pull that round. And then I don't like where things carve in like that so much. So I'll smooth those out a bit.
Whereas I do like that.
I used to like it.
Have you gone off? Yeah.
I don't like it.
Don't like it so much anymore. It's interesting, isn't it, how our kind of moods around stuff like that can really change.
Yeah, yeah. And also, I wouldn't have wanted to see the continuous line. I would have wanted it to be broken.
Yeah, yeah.
So, you know, so it's not quite so clear. Your brain makes up more of it than your eyes do then. I really like the addition of that pencil I just used. So they were the Neo colours. So I'm just going to go on a bit of this one.
So do you seal these, Sally Ann? Because with them being water-soluble crayons, they will move, won't they?
Yeah.
What's your finishing process on these once these paintings, once these works are finished?
So I would probably spray varnish them first.
Right.
Hold everything. Okay. And then once it's sprayed, then I can brush varnish it.
Yeah.
But for things like, I mean, this is only just on the gesso, so there's very little chance that would stay, you know, for the end. That will probably get covered. But if it did, then yeah, I'd spray varnish it to hold it. Yeah. But I like where the marks are. Can you see that mark there? Yeah. I like that it's not got the water mark on it. I don't like it when it bleeds like that. I know it's a watercolor pencil and it's meant to, but
but you don't like it.
I wouldn't leave it like that, but what I'd probably do is just use like a smaller shaper and just see what would happen if I did it. Like, it's okay if I do it more.
Yeah.
Some of the definite mark stays underneath, but I don't just like it where it's.
Yeah.
Yeah. And now I'm going, what does that color look like dragged over the pink? Do you remember before I was doing this? I showed you how I dragged the water. So that's like putting a little glaze onto that. I feel like I'd like something quite definite in there next to that pink, but I don't really want that white edge. I feel very definite about what I do and don't like today.
That's not usual for you.
Well, sometimes it depends where I am in the process. If it's early days like this, I'll sometimes just let a lot of things go because I think, I'll cover it or whatever, you know.
Yeah.
And it just adds another, you know, something will be interesting at the end. I've also been thinking lately, when I was looking at some of my old collage work and when I teach workshops, I used to work a lot with text in my work, and I don't anymore. And that was the thing about the journaling, because it felt vulnerable. So I used to write in the work, and I taught myself, I think it was actually, Margaret, you just touched on there, from printing, because everything's in reverse. When I was in my 20s, I used to have a business with another girl, and we used to make clothes and bags, and we'd put print images on them and write on them. And I realized to get it printed right, I have to learn to write backwards, so it transfers properly. And I used to take that through to my paintings because it made the work like you couldn't read it so much because of how I'd write it so it felt more safe for me. So yeah, I might just put some text in here. I have no idea why I felt like doing that. Feels like quite a big piece, but I'm going to go for it.
So if anybody's got any questions as we're going along, please do ask. Aaron, new person join us. Hi, nice to have you with us.
Hello, Aaron.
Ooh, dreaded bubble.
Yeah.
It really annoys me when it does that.
Maybe I didn't have enough medium on.
Yeah. So Reva's just said it's great to see a few being worked on at the same time. So should we talk a little bit about working in a series? That might be helpful for people, because that, I mean, not everybody does that, do they? I mean, this is something that you would commonly do, isn't it, Sally Ann? Work on several paintings at once.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mostly because I can explore more ideas at one time. And also because working in a series, there's not so much pressure. If I just had this one I was working on now, I'd A, be waiting for it to dry, so I wouldn't be as productive, and B, I would be really conscious about, I'd be more conscious about my moves that I'm making, whereas at the moment I've very little pressure on myself because I'm thinking, well, that sort of looked nice on that one, so I'll try that on that. Like, it's a way of it's just a way of growing the work in a small amount of time, I guess. And to give the example, like, I really like those orange marks I've just done there, and I'm looking at the one above. I'd no longer like that text, so now what I'll probably do is wipe out that text, but somewhere I'll just try these orange lines again. Yeah, and it's like, so each idea that I do on one feeds another, and
yeah,
I hope that answers that.
I had a similar experience recently. I'd just done a 10 little paintings, and how I was doing it was working on maybe 2 or 3 at a time, and then moving backwards and forwards between them, you know, similar kind of thing, really, letting one inform another, inform another, inform another.
Yeah.
You know, I think, like you say, you know, you put something on one painting and you know, it starts to feel interesting, and then you transfer something similar over across onto another painting. Lynn's just saying how much she likes the colours, how fresh they are. They are, aren't they, Lynn? I think so too. I do like that kind of greeny yellowy colour that you've used, the Neocrate. Yeah, it's really nice. Yeah, it's a great colour, that is.
So I feel like I'm just going to get some paint in some of the areas now. Again, no super like hard plan. I'm just going with the colors I've got on the palette and staying kind of within the, you know, within this. But I am starting to think kind of where they're going, and maybe the values a little bit, but not too, you know, not too much. feel like these are going to be quite painterly, you know, quite
Yeah,
sort of
so a lot of paint and a small amount of collage.
smudgy sort of feels. Yeah. Tell you what I do just want to do, get rid of that text. I also don't always like to see the hard collage edges, so I probably build that out in paint a little bit. Poured quite a bit of blue in there.
Time. So when you're teaching people, Sally-Ann, when you teach, because you said you're doing a collage workshop tomorrow, how do you approach it?
First thing, we sit together and go through, we try and build like an inspiration board
Okay.
for them, so that and I mainly focus there on like color and how bold people like, you know, if they tend to like really subtle things, because then I know in the mark making that's coming next how I can show them different ways to get different marks, what they're going to, with a preference for what they've shown their liking to, you know. So we go through firstly the inspiration boards, and then mark making, and then painting techniques, and then later we start fitting together compositions on we're going to do it on some cardboard first, before we move on to panels. So it's a full day, but we've got a lot to fit in, so I hope
I was going to say, it sounds like it's a really good day, actually.
But what I should have said, sorry, the whole thing about it, when we're doing the mark making and painting in the morning, we're building their own personal library of collage papers. That's then what their source material they will work from to create these panels. And that's why it's important for me to know at the beginning what they, you know, if they're really bright and vibrant or whether it's more subtle, because I can, you know, guide that through the day, so that I want everybody to make something they're happy with, ideally. Right, so now I feel this one's really lovely and subtle. I feel like it could benefit from some like drawn marks maybe. So I'll do the thing where I just literally cast my eye in front of me and just sort of draw. Does that make any sense? Can you see? It's hard to see, isn't it, in their light?
Do you find when you're working in series that that they don't all progress at the same time, but there's one or two that you end up really liking a lot?
Yes.
And then there's one actually that turns into a bit of a problem, but then sometimes the one that's a problem actually ends up being the one you like the best in the end.
Yeah, sometimes I'm really surprised and I think, wow, where did you come from? Because you were so like the one behind. I'm just gonna liven this I just want to add a bit of like sort of bluey green in here. But I don't want to do anything definite, so I'm just going to get lots of water on my brush and sort of flick it in to see if I like it.
Excuse me. If it wasn't for the fact that I've got an art pop-up, I'm doing the heat. I don't know if anybody is local to Manchester Stockport area, but tomorrow I'm doing the Heaton Moor art trail. And if it wasn't for the fact that I've got to organise prints and cards and pack everything, I would be having a go at some of this afternoon myself. Actually, you've inspired me to get my collage papers out again. I've not had them out for ages, actually, because I did when I did the 100-day project, probably about, oh crikey, maybe about 3 years ago now, actually, 2 or 3 years, at least 3 years ago probably. I did, because I hadn't had much experience using collage, I set myself the task of doing a small abstract collage in my sketchbook every day. And I really got into it at the time. And then, I mean, apart from bringing occasional pieces into my work, like, I'll show you. So like this one, for example, where I will, I don't know if you can see there, yeah, I'll collage paper onto the surface, but it's plain.
Yeah.
And what it does is create surface texture, and then I might do something like you can see in that little corner there, where I've put a piece of text in, but I paint over it a lot, actually. It's not often that I will keep the paper very clear. Most often, you know, I'll put a lot of paint on it and sort of bring it very closely, integrated it into the painting. I've been wanting for a while to, you know, kind of develop collage in my work further so that it becomes more about the collage and less about the paint, you know, so to shift the balance. Yeah, I just think it's interesting, you know. So I'm not there with that one yet, you know. I'm just kind of thinking about how I'm going to explore and kind of you know, develop that idea. Really, it'll be interesting to see what happens, I think. But you know, watching you kind of work and the way that you're working's got me thinking, oh, actually, yeah, you know, some of this is about, I think it's about how I'm thinking about the collage, actually. And I think because I've been coming at it very much from the perspective of paint, I think that's been almost like the paint is the forerunner and the collage just sits with it rather than it being the other way around.
Okay, yes.
Yeah, you know, and I think there's something in that about how I might start to think about how I use it, actually.
It might, just a little tip, if you're doing this, like I put that on now and it's really watery and far too heavy for me, so I'd be blotting with other papers, and then you can use these as your collage papers. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I've got a lot of those. An awful lot of those. Excuse me. Okay, guys, so we're coming up to 10 to 4, so I just want to make sure, see if there's anybody got any questions, because a couple of people have joined us in the last sort of 15, 20 minutes or so, just to kind of catch the end. So I don't know if anybody's got any questions as you've been watching. If anybody wants to ask? Oh, okay, cool. Well, if you do, either drop it in the chat or unmute and shout out. Actually, I'm just going to check the chat because I think there might be yeah, no, nothing new, I don't think.
I hadn't really planned much of this today, so I hope it's been all right for everybody.
I've really enjoyed. I've been having a blast.
It's gorgeous, Sally Ann.
Oh, thank you.
Very lovely.
Reva says, where do you get the panels from? Reva, I get mine from Jackson's Art Supplies. What about you, Sally Ann? Where do you get yours from?
I can't, do you know what? I can't remember the last time I don't know where these times. Is it Great Art, maybe?
Oh, yes, yeah,
If you
yeah.
type in cradled wooden panel, there's so many suppliers online.
Yeah, there's loads.
Yeah. Just to say another tip that sort of helps them come together after you've used your collage paper. So in this, I don't know how much you can see, there's like slight bluey kind of bits in the collage paper. So then I would bring in, you know, pencil a different color, like, you know, somewhere else in the work to kind of tie it in a little bit, maybe.
So Aaron's asking, yes, Sally Ann is using matte medium, Aaron. Is it Aaron or Aaron? I'm not sure. Sorry if I'm pronouncing your name wrong. And it's the rubber scraper is called a paint, what's it called again? A colour shaper. It's a colour shaper, isn't it?
Oh, it's a colour shaper, yeah.
Yeah, because I couldn't remember what it was called the other week, actually, when I was using it. And the support's a wooden cradled panel.
They come in different sizes.
Yeah.
I read online lots of people complaining about them, that the silicone falls out.
Oh, okay.
So touch wood, I've never had anything go wrong with mine, but I never wash mine. I always have a scraper to hand, and I just wait till it's dry and then I scrape it. So they're never dipped in water.
Yeah.
Like brushes.
That's probably got a lot to do with it.
Yeah.
I must admit, my brushes are absolutely trashed, really, because I do the really bad thing of leaving them in water overnight. In fact, sometimes for several days at a time.
I've got some back that are before the move, and I just won't touch them because I think they're going to be like pond water. And I just keep pushing them to the back of this table.
Yeah. Paula's asking, do you ever use house paints on your larger paintings? Paula, I had a go once or twice, I think, and then I did a bit of research, and I just thought, and it might be that the paint in the UK is different to the paint in the US, although I think you're in the UK, and I know a few artists in the US use house paint, but what I read made me think, actually, I don't think I want to chance it. So I tend not to, actually. I tend to just use acrylics, artists' acrylics. Not always very expensive ones, sometimes student quality. But in the main, I'm tending to use mostly not house paint, artist paint. What about you, though, Sally Ann? Do you use house paint?
Yeah, I use it and underlayers for like gesso and any sort of first layers. I have them for years. I don't know. Oh, I use masonry paint though, because it's a bit thicker.
Right. Okay. So yeah, that might be quite a difference, actually.
I don't know. I just and by the time I think it's how, like, I know for mine, you probably never see, it's probably about 15 or 20 layers under. Yeah. So as long as the first surface coat has adhered to your your surface, whatever you're using, you should be fine. And then like it's sealed at the end or anything. I don't know. I've never had any problems, but
no. Well, you know, if you look at it in houses, it lasts for donkey's years, doesn't it? And you know, it was actually on I think it was on an art kind of manufacturer's website. So, you know, they've got a vested interest in saying that house paint's not good enough quality for artists, haven't they? So
I mean, there is a thing now, like if you think back to like the abstract expressionists and stuff, they're all using house paint, whatever.
Yeah, they were. Actually, they were all using house paint.
But at the time, that probably had a lot of stuff in it that we don't have in our paints nowadays. So it was probably like then it would, you know, be set in stone probably. But now because we're more eco-friendly, maybe they're not as strong, or I don't know. But I definitely don't mind using it just for making gesso and the underlayers. And at the moment, I've got a large pot of sand text, I think it's called. It's hidden at the back. Whatever's the big yellow thing, sand tech or something for masonry.
Brilliant.
And obviously, you just stick to white, Sally.
Yes, yeah, but you don't. In the past, like when I first started painting years ago, I'd use anything, and I really used to love using gloss paint because of the way that the weight of it, you know, the way it drips. And actually, these collage papers I've been making, and I will it tomorrow. This really strong black line you can see.
Yeah.
The gloss line, that's from trailing gloss paint from a height.
Yeah.
Because you get such beautiful lines and I love the feel of it, you know, the motion of it when it's like dripping, and the, you know, you can sort of, you can't control it really, but you can like pull the weight with it. So
yeah, it's different, isn't it?
Yeah, so Paula, yes, I'm not necessarily stuck to white. You know, if I was at the DIY store now and they had like, I don't know, all the wrong mixed colors, you know, that people don't want, I probably would. If there was a cheap tin, I don't mind like buying that and mixing it in, and then I'm not precious about that at all.
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
I love the gloss, black gloss. That's such a good idea.
Yeah, it's so nice to use. I mean, it's so messy, but it's really, I love using it. And that's the way when you can get like, you know, at the beginning I said, don't put all your papers, don't just work on one paper, like juxtapose all your papers, and you can start like, you know, really like spreading this gloss around, and some of it pulls and some of it, and it's really sticky, but as long as you've got the space to move it around, you get really nice lines on random sections.
Sounds great.
Thank you.
Okay, guys, we're coming up to 4 o'clock actually, so due to finish fairly soon. So is there anything else you wanted to say, Sally-Ann, before we sign off?
No, not really. I
No?
think, well, I'm going to, my online workshops will be starting in August. I'm going to go with the collage one and try and see how it goes tomorrow in the session plan, and then try and section it up for take it online. So it might be a lot in one, it will be too much for one session. So
Yeah, that sounds fun. That sounds interesting. That sounds cool.
Like
yeah.
3 parts or something.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we've both been able to kind of put some workshop stuff together, haven't we? Because I've been able to, because I've got my new studio here now at home, and it's a much bigger room. I can fairly comfortably get between 4 people in, I think, while we're still needing to isolate a bit, but I think 6 once we're not doing that. So I've, like you know, put together a program for the rest of this year and next year as well. So if anyone's interested, that information's all on both of our websites, I think. So I guess that's it for this afternoon. So thanks, guys, for joining us. It's been really great to have you. We'll be live again next month from Buxton this time, and I'll have a think about what I might want to demonstrate. And in fact, if anybody, you know, if there's anything particular you'd like to see, just drop us a message and we can include it. Or if anything you want to hear us to talk about or talk to, again, same thing, we can do that. So. And what we'll do with this is we'll probably, I don't think we'll do very much editing, and we'll get it up and available on YouTube probably within the next 2 or 3 days. So if anybody wants to watch it again, you can do. So cheers very much, everybody. Thank you very much, and hope to see you another time. Okay, thanks very much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye.
Sally-Ann, just one more thing. Just to say, really excited about your online course. Really excited you're doing that.
Oh, thank you. I'll definitely be in touch. Thank you for your support always.
Thank you. Thank you, Lynn. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay, thanks, Paula. Bye-bye. Bye. Okay. It's a wrap, as they say.
Yeah. Oh, that was a really nice session for me, actually. So yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I think it went great. It was really interesting for me to see your work. It was really cool. It was really cool.